Millionaire's shocking choice, how this popcorn girl stunned 83 finalists at 3 a.m. The clock struck 3, the stillness of the night hanging heavy in the air like an unspoken secret. In the dim light of the neon sign flickering in the distance, a crowd of 83 finalists huddled together, their faces a mix of anxiety and anticipation. Who could have possibly imagined that a simple girl with a popcorn stand could turn this elite competition upside down? Something inexplicable was in the air, a feeling that electrified the atmosphere, the kind that makes the hairs on your arms stand at attention. As the finalists whispered in hushed tones, a girl named Maya stood alone, surrounded by a cloud of mystery. She wasn't just any girl, she was known for her bizarre yet irresistible popcorn flavors, spicy jalapeno cheddar, sweet maple bacon, even a surprising lavender hibiscus. Each kernel popped to life with an explosion of taste, and yet it was her latest concoction that had drawn the attention of the Millionaire judge, a powerful figure whose choices rippled through the industry like a stone tossed into a quiet pond. With every tick of the clock, anticipation mounted. They could all sense it, the weight of her contender's gaze was like a spotlight narrowing in on her. People murmured about her supposed gift, the whispering tales of a magical ability to create flavors that not only delighted but also enthralled. Some said she could read minds, could taste emotions, and thus make popcorn that felt like sunshine or heartbreak. But none could confirm the rumors. They only added to her mystique. Maya stood at the center of attention, a tight knot forming in her chest. Would this millionaire truly see her talent? Would he choose her? The right choice could turn her life around, but what if she stumbled? Just as thoughts of self-doubt crept in, that mystical air around her thickened. Suddenly, a cold wind rushed through the crowd, and before anyone could react, she unleashed her latest flavor, a bold midnight purple popcorn, infused with something they couldn't quite place. At that moment, the crowd gasped, drawn in like moths to a flame, eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination. "What is that?" came a voice from the back, breaking the spell. Tension soared. Then, a loud, disembodied voice declared that the millionaire had made his choice. Who would it be? The air crackled with suspense, and every breath felt like the last before a plunge into the unknown. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The room held its breath, the energy shifting palpably. Just then, Maya's heart raced as the millionaire stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "You have more to offer than just popcorn," he said, looking straight at her. A spark ignited, and she sensed something monumental was about to unfold. Could it be that this night wasn't about mere competition? Was it something bigger, something that could change everything? With every eye fixated on her, Maya felt the hush of the crowd turn into a roaring whirlwind, each question echoing in her mind. What choice would he make? Would she rise, or would she fall? As the tension reached a breaking point, the room braced for the next shocking twist. The millionaire cleared his throat, piercing through the silence that felt like a tangible wall. "Tonight is not about popcorn, Maya," he said, his voice steady but laced with urgency. The words hung between them, thickening the air with uncertainty. Faces twisted in confusion as whispers rippled through the crowd. Not about popcorn? What on earth did he mean? Maya's mind raced. She could feel the weight of their gazes, their judgment mingling with intrigue. Her chest tightened as the million possibilities unfolded in cursed clarity. Was it all a joke? A mockery of her dreams? "You possess something rare," he continued, his gaze unwavering. "It transcends taste, it reaches hearts." Maya's heart stirred, somewhere between hope and dread. She could already hear the murmurs of disbelief surrounding her. Could she really alter someone's emotions with her popcorn? "What do you want from her?" a voice yelled from the back. Marjorie, a fierce competitor known for her vibrant personality and cutthroat tactics. The noise of dissent broadened. A viral sensation, a girl plucked from obscurity, stirring up envy like bees to honey. But Mia's focus remained on the millionaire, searching for something she couldn't name. "Imagine a world where flavors inspire emotion, where every bite tells a story," he replied, low but commanding. "Not just snacks, but experiences." His eyes flicked to the purple popcorn, vibrant and unsettling. "Tonight, I am looking for a collaborator. One who can tap into the emotions of others and create an entire universe of flavors." Mia's breath caught. The offer was astonishing and terrifying. A collaborator? The pressure of a lifetime beckoned her forward into an unknown fate. What if it goes wrong? She thought, shaking slightly as every nerve in her body trembled. Success sounded wonderful, but the fears of failure loomed larger than life. Faces twisted into skeptical disbelief. Insecurity clawed at her heart. "Or," he added, effortlessly silencing the crowd, "what if it changes everything?" Mia met his steely gaze, her heart pounding wildly. Could she stand against the expectations? Would she risk everything for a mere chance at glory? The crowd held their breath, every heartbeat in sync with hers. The millionaire's words sent shivers down her spine, dangling the allure of destiny just out of reach. "Choose wisely, Mia," he cautioned, leaning in slightly. "This is not just about popcorn, it's about the magic you can create." Just then, without warning, the room was hit with a sudden blast of energy. The purple popcorn shimmered under the fluorescent lights, almost as if it could speak. The murmurs turned into a cacophony of protests and encouragements, some competitors pacing like tigers, anxious energy radiating from them. Mia felt the pressure flood her senses. She could taste the fear and desperation of the others, the need to be chosen pulsing like electricity. Would she let fear dictate her choices? Or would she step into the light, embrace the challenge, and carve her destiny? "Go ahead, Mia." Someone shouted, the voice familiar but distant. It was her best friend, Sarah, urging her to embrace the moment. Nothing felt real anymore. The world faded, and time appeared frozen, a split second stretching into eternity. Mia took a deep breath, the taste of anticipation exploding on her tongue. Golden opportunities and crippling fears wrestled for control of her spirit, and then, finally, she spoke. The words slipped from her tongue not as a rush of anxious energy but a steady declaration. "I accept your challenge." A gasp swept through the room, followed by a sudden lurch in the air. What had she just set in motion? But before she could comprehend the magnitude of her words, the lights flickered violently, plunging the room into darkness. A collective gasp sent chills spiraling down their spines. Panic erupted as shadows overtook those assembled, but in that chaos, one thing became painfully clear: things were about to take a turn no one anticipated. As the lights flicked back on, something was amiss. Her purple popcorn shimmered ominously, casting eerie reflections across the stunned crowd. What had she unleashed? Was she ready for what was coming next? Fear mingled with the thrill of the unknown, swirling around her like a storm, and as she stood there, the weight of destiny heavy upon her, Mia wondered, what was hidden in the shadows of her dramatic choice? The lights trembled back to life, revealing faces caught between disbelief and awe. Mia's heart thundered in her chest, the sudden shift in atmosphere wrapping around her like a chill. The purple popcorn seemed to pulsate with an energy of its own, casting iridescent shadows that danced across the walls. What just happened? Someone whispered, their voice barely cutting through the thick air. Mia stood frozen, her wide eyes locked onto the shimmering kernels, which appeared to shimmer in a way that was almost otherworldly. "Do you feel that?" Sarah asked, her voice filled with wonder. Mia turned to her best friend, whose usual bubbly demeanor had morphed into something more serious, something urgent. The murmurs grew louder, a collective storm of speculation brewing among the crowd. Marjorie's voice pierced through the chaos, dripping with sarcasm. You really think this ridiculous popcorn can do anything? This is a joke, right? But Mia could no longer hear Marjorie. A soft warmth enveloped her as she focused on the popcorn, an impulse pulling at her core. Something awaited her there, something beyond just taste. Could it be true? Could she really evoke emotions through something so simple? Yet, as she swayed on the precipice of discovery, doubt clawed at her mind. What is happening here? The millionaire's voice cut through the tension. He stepped forward, his presence commanding and searing. This is your moment, Mia. Don't let it fade. You accepted the challenge for a reason. As he spoke, apprehension twisted in her stomach. She had stepped into a world filled with squeals of delight and echoes of heartbreak, where every kernel could unveil a story or unravel a hidden truth. She thought of her dreams and the relentless drive that had brought her here. What if this was just the beginning? With her heart in her throat, she reached for the popcorn. It felt warm and alive beneath her fingertips, and the scent flooded her senses, a mingling of sweetness and something just beyond comprehension. The crowd held its breath, eyes riveted on her, as if the answer to some riddle depended on what she would do next. Make us feel something, Mia. Sarah's plea chimed through the silence. Mia inhaled deeply, the weight of the moment crashing over her. She could sense their anticipation, the collective heartbeat thrumming around her. All right, she whispered to herself, the determination rising in her chest. Let us do this. She lifted a handful of the vibrant popcorn and let it glimmer in the light, an emblem of possibility. Whatever magic resided in the kernels, she would draw it out. She envisioned colors, tastes, and emotions swirling and intermingling, and before she fully realized what she was doing, she brought the popcorn to her lips. At that precise moment, chaos erupted anew. The popcorn released a strange fragrance, intoxicating and vibrant, filling the air with a richness she hadn't anticipated. Gasps echoed as the crowd leaned in, captivated. Mia. The millionaire's voice sliced through once more, a note of urgency woven with excitement. Do you understand what you've begun? But just as the realization struck her, the lights flickered again, and a sudden shockwave seemed to pulse through the crowd. People stumbled back, faces drained of color. A powerful force swept through the room, filled with a blinding energy, and Mia cried out, clutching the popcorn tightly as if it were a lifeline. In that moment, she could feel hearts racing, emotions colliding, as if her purple popcorn had become a catalyst, stirring something deep within everyone present. Waves of fear, joy, sorrow crashed around her all at once. The crowd's voices rose into a frantic crescendo, split between triumph and terror. What's happening? Someone screamed. Make it stop. Mia's breath hitched as panic wrestled with exhilaration. Could she channel this wild energy? Could she actually unlock an experience that transcended mere snacking? The shadows loomed larger now, consuming the edges of her reality. Each pulse exhaled a reminder crushingly clear: she stood at the edge of something profound and potentially dangerous. As the lights dimmed once more, balancing precariously on the brink of chaos, Mia realized just how little she understood of the magic she had tapped into. With everything she deconjured or perhaps unleashed, she pondered what awaited her in the depths of this emotional storm. The air thickened with uncertainty, and in the eye of that storm, she wondered, would she rise with the tide or be swallowed whole by the very magic she sought to wield? Mia's heart raced as chaos swirled around her, a maelstrom of emotions and energy that threatened to sweep her away. She felt raw panic clawing at her throat, but a flicker of hope ignited within her. Was it possible she could harness this whirlwind? Stay calm. Focus. She shouted, though her voice was barely a whisper above the rising tumult. Eyes flicked around the room, wide with a mixture of terror and awe. People stumbled as they were swept up in a tide of feelings, their expressions morphing between joy, dread, and confusion. It was as if the purple popcorn was drawing on their innermost thoughts, blending them into this surreal experience, one that could either elevate her into the spotlight or drag her into darkness. I in the corner, Marjorie's face contorted with disbelief, her bravado shattered. "This is ridiculous," she shouted, fear leaking into her voice. "It's just popcorn." But Mia sensed the energy. There was nothing ordinary about this moment. She pressed her eyes closed, trying to center herself. She had to steer the storm rather than succumb to it. What could she conjure next? Fear had gripped her first, but she knew joy could be equally powerful. "Imagine happiness," she breathed, recalling all the moments of laughter that had danced through her memories. The first time she managed to make Sarah laugh until she cried, the tiny moments of delight shared over sundresses in the summer sun, or the warmth of celebrating small victories with friends. Surrounded by shadows, Mia opened her eyes once more, gripping the popcorn tighter. She raised her voice, "Happy thoughts everyone. Think of your happiest moments." As if in response, the purple kernels pulsed brighter, and a harmony of emotions began to swell, lifting the thick despair in the room. People's faces began to soften, eyes glimmered with suppressed laughter and reminiscent smiles. The air crackled with energy untouched for too long. "Mia, it's working!" Sarah shrieked, urging everyone else to join in. "Feel it, let it flow." Suddenly, the energy surged outward. Where seconds ago fear had reigned, they began to laugh, small peals at first, then crescendos that bounced off the walls. Mia's heart soared. She took a deep breath, willing the popcorn to amplify their shared joy. But then, just as it seemed the tide had shifted, flickers of darkness cut through the laughter. Ghosts of sorrow and painful memories bubbled up, mingling with the joy, creating something darker, more complex. A woman began to sob in a corner, her grief uncertain and heavy. Men and women who had smiled moments before now gripped their heads, as if battling unseen demons. "Make it stop!" someone shouted, but Mia felt a swell of something deeper, an urge to embrace the fullness of their experiences, both joy and pain. It was all too much, too intense. "Embrace it!" Mia cried out, her voice breaking as the room teetered between ecstatic release and chaotic despair. "You must feel it all." The lights flickered again, brighter this time, and in that blinding moment, she felt her own core pulse with uncertainty. Was she losing control? The popcorn buzzed ominously, the air thickening with dread. The millionaire's words echoed in her mind, urging her to confront not just the magic, but the consequences of it. As the wave of personalities rippled around her, some faces transformed into shadows, their pain apparent. Mia's courage wavered. Would she guide this storm to create something beautiful, or was it too late to turn back? In that heartbeat of chaos, where everything could shift, Mia's breath caught in her throat. Was embracing everyone's emotions the right path, or had she awakened something far darker than she ever intended? The lights dimmed once more as if preparing for the climax, and she stood, suspended in uncertainty, anxious to see what would come next. Would she unleash a truth that healed? Or awaken a nightmare that would consume them all? Mia's heart felt heavy, a lead weight pressing down as shadows engulfed the room. Laughter sputtered like an old engine, struggling against the rising tide of despair. The joy she had coaxed from the crowd began to collapse under the pressure of sorrow, the delicate balance shifting ominously as new emotions churned beneath the surface. "Inhale, exhale," Mia whispered, each breath shallow and anxious. The space around her emitted an electric hum, throbbing with the weight of untamed feelings. Faces shifted from happiness to panic, and for a heartbeat, the air felt toxic, as if every unmet expectation and buried grief had erupted like a dam breaking. "Mia! What's happening?" Sarah shouted, her voice laced with panic, snapping Mia back to the enormity of the situation. A scream pierced through the laughter, a sharp call from a figure in the corner who had turned pale, eyes wide in horror. Another joined, a young man with tears streaming down his face, his body trembling as though he were physically fighting against unseen chains. Mia clutched her popcorn, the vibrant purple kernels now dimming as they seemed to absorb the collective anguish swirling around. I don't know. She shouted back, fear catching in her throat. But we have to. She was cut off as Marjorie charged forward, wild-eyed. You did this, Mia. The accusation hung in the air, electric and suffocating. This is your fault, this chaos. No. The word tore from Mia's lips, raw and desperate. I tried to help. I thought we could. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently, and the laughter gave way to gasps. A pulse radiated from the center of the room, making the very walls tremble. Mia could feel it in her bones how the crowd thumped in time with the erratic energy. It was like standing on the precipice of a storm, the ice swirling with turmoil. Everyone, listen to me. Mia cried, her determination rising. Feel it all, yes. But give it a shape. Channel it. Turn this pain into something you can control. The crowd hesitated, faces twisted in fear and confusion. But within that hesitation, she saw flickers of understanding igniting. Sarah caught Mia's eye, her brows knitted tight with worry but her chin lifting. We can do this together. Channel it. She yelled, and one by one, people started to form connections, hands grasping one another, voices weaving through the dense fog of shared emotion. The chaos began to shift, not entirely gone, but a sense of focus began to solidify. Faces that once showed despair now focused on each other, sharing stories of loss and struggle, pain transforming into empathy. Mia took a step back, her breath trembling as she felt the tide morph around her into something unexpectedly hopeful, but then it hit her, a realization that made her heart race. What if they were not just feeling their pain? What if they were summoning something unimaginable? The realization glimmered like a far-off star, beautiful yet terrifying. A low tremor rippled through the room once more, and the purple popcorn began to glow inexplicably, pulsating rhythmically as it absorbed their collective energies. The power felt raw, electric, alive. Mia, what are we doing? Sarah's voice trembled, filled with awe and fear. It's too much. We need to. But before Mia could finish, an unsettling roar vibrated from the depths of the popcorn, drowning her words. The crowd gasped again, their expressions morphing into a mixture of fear and anticipation. Then, just as quickly as it had gathered, the energy surged and burst forth, igniting in a kaleidoscope of lights, illuminating the darkness. In that flicker, Mia glimpsed faces lit up by both hope and despair, a reflection of their shared souls. As shadows danced in the light, Mia felt a chilling pulse of dread. Had they truly harnessed something miraculous, or had they unleashed a force that could consume them all? The lights flickered violently again, casting long shadows across the floor as questions swirled like a storm. Would they harness this power for good, or would it devour them? Mia's throat tightened with uncertainty, gripping the popcorn tighter. Because in that moment, she realized one haunting truth: sometimes the most powerful emotions could lead to salvation or absolute ruin. What awaited them when the light faded, and what darkness, if any, would follow? The kaleidoscope of lights pulsated violently, infusing the room with sheer energy, and for a brief moment, Mia felt invincible. But the wonder was short-lived. As the spectacle intensified, the cheerful colors morphed into cold hues, icy blues and deep purples that seemed to swallow all warmth. Mia sensed at first the air was thickening around them, pressure rising like a storm gathering overhead. The laughter had stopped, replaced by a chorus of panicked breaths and whispered fears. The glowing popcorn cracked like thunder, fragments shooting out and scattering across the room like shrapnel. Everyone, stay together. Mia shouted, her voice cracking under the weight of urgency. But her words fell into the maelstrom, barely registering against the cacophony of thrumming energies. Marjorie, still wearing the mask of anger, looked as though she were caught between the urge to flee and a desire to confront. What have you done, Mia? She accused, eyes stormy, a mix of fear and betrayal flashing in her expression. You think you can control this? Just as Mia opened her mouth to defend herself, the blast of energy erupted once more. A cyclone formed at the center of the glowing mass, spinning wildly and drawing people closer to it, like moths to a flame. They were no longer holding hands or sharing stories. It was as if the room had transformed into a wild beast, the electromagnetic pulse gnawing at their willpower, enticing them to surrender to something greater than themselves. Mia's heart raced, and panic clawed at her throat. No! This isn't right! She screamed. But her voice was drowned in a rising tide of emotions, each person around her caught in the swell of something primal and ancient. Suddenly, a figure stumbled forward, a girl, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I can't take this anymore," she howled, her body crumpling as the power surged through her. The room felt the weight of her anguish, reverberating against the walls. "Make it stop. I don't want to feel this." Mia felt a chill run down her spine, recognizing that they were teetering on the brink of something unspeakable. Were they summoning a spirit or a memory? Was it a force meant to help them heal, or a vengeful entity lurking just beneath? Every heartbeat echoed the urgency of her thoughts as the cyclone threw out sparks. "Sarah!" Mia reached for her friend, desperate to ground herself in familiar comfort. "We have to find a way to turn it back. We must gain control." But as she looked around, the fear on Sarah's face twisted into something darker, something more primal. The light of recognition was mixed with a shimmer of longing. Was Sarah drawn to this chaotic force? "Mia," she said softly, yet chillingly calm, "maybe this is what we need to just let go." "No. You don't understand." Mia shouted, but her words felt hollow. It was as though the room itself had decided to drown her out. The cyclone sparked brighter, resonating with their collective souls, as if the darkness was reaching out to feed on their despair. Mia clenched her eyes shut against the brightness, half terrified, half wondering what came next. But then she remembered the shimmering popcorn. "We can't let it feed this isn't gift, it's a curse. We control this together." As she opened her eyes, the glow brightened. But then, in an instant, the lights flickered once more, and just like that, everything shifted. Shadows elongated menacingly, wrapping themselves around the crowd like tight coils, pushing despair into their hearts. Mia's gut twisted, the ominous feeling clawing at her sanity. What were they really summoning as they danced on the edge of this dark power? And would they be able to bring it down, or would it consume them, leaving only echoes of their once bright souls behind? As the air thickened with uncertainty and fear, Mia felt an overwhelming certainty: the next moment would change everything for better or worse. Would she rise to face the dark, or be devoured by it? In the flickering shadows, one ethereal question screamed to be answered: could they escape the abyss they had unlocked, or was it already too late? The cyclone roared like a hungry beast, its winds howling, grabbing at clothes, hair, anything it could sink its claws into. Mia's heart drummed wildly, a frantic rhythm of fear and desperation pulsing through her veins. Around her, faces twisted in horror, grappling with emotions they'd never meant to confront. "Sarah!" she cried again, voice bursting with urgency. Her friend was slipping away, eyes glazed and shimmering, as if entranced by the swirling chaos. "We have to break this. Fight it." But Sarah stood motionless, captivated by the tempest that breathed life into her fears. Shadows painted her face, twisting her features into something almost unrecognizable. "What if this is our way out, Mia?" she murmured, voice soft but heavy with a haunting allure. "What if we can finally feel everything?" Panic gripped Mia's throat as she shook her head violently. "No. You don't want this. Trust me, this isn't real." She reached out, desperate to pull Sarah back, but it was as if boundaries had blurred. The distance between them felt infinite, the cyclone ferociously pulsed larger, feeding on anxiety, sorrow, and hopelessness. A bolt of darkness flared within it, rippling and thrumming like a living thing. Someone screamed, breaking the trance. "It's eating us alive." The figure darted back, trying to escape the grasp of the dark tendrils unfurling from the center. Mia felt the pull, and it was like drowning in thick, dark water. She focused all her will against it. Everyone. We need to fight together. With each shout, she tried to weave her way through, her legs heavy as they refused to cooperate. But a flicker of recognition sparked in Sarah's eyes, a fleeting moment as she grappled with her emotions. Mia, suddenly, a crash erupted, breaking the spell that had cascaded over them. The table next to them collapsed, sending candy and drinks sprawling across the floor, and in the chaos, the cyclone faltered for a heartbeat. In that instant, Mia grasped Sarah's arm. Snap out of it. Fear painted her friend's features. The connection snapped back, and for a fleeting moment, it seemed as if the lights shifted from cold blues to a soothing gold. But then boom. It was gone, swallowed whole by shadows. Mia felt bile rise in her throat. We have to stop this. She shouted. We have to fight against the dark. As if responding to her words, fingers of light shot from the remnants of the scattered popcorn, illuminating the space with an electric impulse. Reaching out, Mia felt a warm flare of hope. Please, everyone. Focus on what you love. On what you want to protect. Fight. The crowd hesitated, but soon people began to rally. Minds began to stir, filled with memories of love, laughter, friends. Hope blossomed amidst despair, but just as it did, the cyclone roared louder, furious against their courage. Let go of your desires. A voice screeched from the storm, dripping with malice. The shadows writhed, forming ghostly hands that reached out, whispering promises of release amid their very own torment. Mia's chest tightened. This was no longer about just stopping a moment, this was a battle for their souls. She could feel the darkness clinging to her, feeding off every hopeful thought. Stay united. She yelled, feeling her heart race, adrenaline flooding her system like fire. Hold on to each other. But just as solidarity began to take root, the lights surged again, brighter than before, engulfing them in a blinding dazzle. Almost instinctively, they reached toward the brilliance, and Mia's heart sank. Was this force truly allowing them to break free, or was it dragging them deeper into darkness? The tension snapped as an identical scream erupted, this time from the opposite side of the cyclone. Mia! Help! It was Marjorie. Mia's breath caught as the chaos intensified and the cyclone twisted into a spiraling abyss. She had promised to keep everyone together, yet her grip was slipping away. Marjorie! She shouted, desperate to pull her back. Hold on. But was that even possible anymore? What choice did they have in a reality where darkness smothered hope? In that moment, a haunting question echoed within Mia. Would her next actions lead to salvation or doom for them all? The blinding light enveloped them, pushing against their skin like hot flames. Mia squinted, fighting the urge to shield her eyes. Dark shapes twisted through the brilliance, silhouettes of the figures she had once known. She felt Sarah's grip slacken, as if the cyclone had found another victim in its treacherous grasp. Mia! Sarah's voice pierced through the pandemonium, her eyes wide with terror. I can't. Don't let go. Focus. Mia screamed, her voice thick with desperation. With the pulse of the cyclone intensifying, she felt the very air thickening around them, each breath like a struggle against immovable weights. Suddenly, the ground trembled. It was a deep rumble that reverberated through their bones, as if the cyclone was a wounded beast on the verge of exploding. The shadows grew bolder, lashing out, clawing at any remnants of hope in the crowd. People screamed, panic entwining with despair, and Mia's heart sank deeper. Time was slipping away. No! She shouted, channeling all her strength into her words. Remember. Remember why you're here. Think of your families, your dreams. But the cyclone retorted with a deafening howl, drowning her out. The bright light flickered, revealing more twisted faces, some frozen in fear, others lost and void of emotion. Marjorie was still out there, helplessly flailing in the cyclone's dark heart. Please. Fight me. Mia realized then that she wasn't just calling the others, she was pleading with the cyclone itself. You don't own us. We are not your puppets. The shadows hesitated. For one raw moment, the winds quieted, and the glaring light pulsated with a soft hue, igniting something within Maya. She could feel it, there was a growing collective realization among the crowd. They weren't victims, they were warriors. Then the cyclone roared back, furious and hungry. You will succumb. I will consume you. It was a voice that rippled through the air, crackling with malice. Maya's breath quickened as she pulled the memories of laughter and love forward. Share your hope, she urged, her voice breaking through the haze of darkness. Let it rise together. Share it now. One by one, the crowd began to chant. Names and faces flickered in their minds, each memory igniting a spark. It felt like a shared heartbeat, powerful and fierce. Home, family, friends. The cyclone shuddered, and Lena, a friend known for her bright laughter, amplified their voices. We will not be taken. The cyclone screeched, a sound that cut through the air like shattered glass. As Maya glanced up, she saw Marjorie's silhouette thrashing against the dark vortex. Someone help her. Amidst the clamor, Maya locked eyes with Sarah. They could do this. They had to. The crowd surged forward, bound by a common purpose. Together. Maya shouted, and they pressed in, hands linked, pushing back against the tempest. It was like a balloon filled beyond capacity. The darkness began to crack, fissures weaving through the shadows, uncertainty flashing in their malicious tendrils, yet just as victory seemed close, a cold wave of dread washed over Maya. The cyclone's center flickered ominously, a chaotic eye revealing a visage of despair. They weren't just fighting to save Marjorie, they were battling a darkness that demanded everything. Maya! Sarah cried, dread echoing within her voice as shadows coalesced, threatening to swallow them whole again. We might not survive this. Heart pounding, Maya searched Sarah's gaze, desperation intertwining with determination. We will survive. We are stronger than it. Together. But as the tempest swelled and the cyclone forced them down, the dreadful pulse of fear rattled every soul. Was this the moment that would define them all, salvation or obliteration? In that moment of truth, the very fabric of their beliefs was put to the test. Would they shatter under the weight of their fears or rise as heroes from the ashes of despair? The cyclone twisted, a living thing, and from the heart of the storm came a silent challenge. Could they face the unknown, press through the depths of darkness and emerge victorious? Or would they forever be lost in its merciless grip? The cyclone roared, a ferocious pulse in the chaos, each gust threatening to tear them apart. Maya fought to keep her focus, drowning out the fear creeping into her thoughts. Every heartbeat felt like drums echoing through the storm, drowning out sanity. Fight! Maya's voice pierced through the noise. Remember those we love. The crowd roared back in unison, voices layered like a symphony booming against the cyclone's growls. Family. Home. Hope. Each shout intertwined them, creating an invisible strand of strength that pulled towards life, against the pull of despair. But the shadows were relentless, weaving through the melody. You are weak. The cyclone bellowed, a guttural storm of malicious intent. I thrive on your fears. Maya felt her resolve shaking, but just as the darkness threatened to engulf them, a flicker of light broke through. From that fracture, a wave of nostalgia washed over her, a memory of Marjorie's laughter, carefree and genuine. It ignited in Maya a spark that felt visceral, almost tangible. Hold on to that. She yelled. Feel the joy. Let it burn brighter. As if a second wind had risen, the crowd fueled the furor. With every cherished memory shouted into the cyclone, the air hummed. Laughter mixed with tears, and the cyclone hesitated. The beams of their memories pierced the canopy of shadows, forcing the fear back, carving out space for light, but just then, a bone-chilling scream pierced the air. Marjorie. The plea for help came from deep within the cyclone's core, reverberating in Maya's heart like a knife carving through flesh. "Maya, we have to save her!" Sarah shouted, panic leaping in her eyes. "I know." Maya's response was urgent, but deep inside, doubt coiled. They were battling more than just a storm. The cyclone was a relentless predator, ever hungry. Would they be enough to save her? The shadows retaliated, dark tendrils swooping low, swirling around their feet like cobras ready to strike. "Your unity means nothing." The cyclone spat, laughter echoing from its depths. "I will feast on your despair until there is none left." As if to reinforce its words, the ground quaked violently again, disorienting them. Maya fell, her grasp on Sarah slipping just a bit. She had to hold on, they all had to hold on. Gritting her teeth, she shouted, "Get down. Together, on your knees." The crowd complied instinctively, their bond tethered by fear but also courage. They created a wall of unity, hands clasping tighter, hearts aligning. "Maya, it's not enough." A voice cried, fear creeping in like an unwelcome shadow. "What if we can't break it?" The question hung in the air, heavy and thick, the reality of their struggle striking like icy thunder. Could hope truly conquer this entity? Would they summon the strength to shatter through the darkness, or would they become part of its endless hunger? "Eyes on me!" Maya called out, urgency driving her voice sharper. "Focus. We overcome together, or we are lost alone." A wave of answers surged through her. They were not just here to fight, they were here to reclaim their lives. She felt a shift in energy, their collective resolve igniting around her like a flame. "Together!" they shouted, a chorus of defiance that shook the very core of the cyclone. "We stand!" the cyclone screamed back. It was a furious sound, brimming with rage, but Maya felt the air crackling with power as the darkness shivered, fragments of shadow snapping like dry twigs underfoot. The tension exploded, and the eye of the storm flickered erratically, threatening to fizzle out, but the cyclone wasn't done. A sudden rush of wind slammed into them, stealing breath and hope alike. The eye of the cyclone narrowed, focusing on Maya and Sarah, as if sensing their unity. "Let go of your bonds." It thundered, fury cracking through like thunder. "I'll show you the darkness in your hearts." Maya's heart raced. Could they truly face the abyss the cyclone threatened to unveil? Just as she braced for the onslaught, she felt the warmth of Sarah's hand slip back into hers, anchoring her. Could love withstand the storm, or was this their final stand against the dark? And then everything went still. The wild winds paused, shadows hesitated. It was a moment, suspended in time, wherein everything could happen. What lay ahead in the depths of the cyclone? Maya's breath hung suspended in the stillness, a heartbeat echoing louder than the chaos that had come before. The cyclone wavered, a breath away from chaos or calm. Faces around her displayed myriad emotions, hope intermingled with fear. In that instant, amid the silent anticipation, a thought crystallized. They were just as formidable as the darkness they faced. Together. She shouted again, the urgency intensifying her voice. "We can do this, everyone. We will not be consumed." Every word resonated through her as if each syllable pulsed with shimmering light. Sarah squeezed her hand tighter, and a surge of warmth spread through Maya, igniting a fire she hadn't realized was there. The cyclone shivered, twisting violently in response, shadows swirling like aggressive tornadoes. "You fools!" it screeched, a cacophony of voices wrapped in malice. "You'll never overpower the darkness." But Maya shook her head. "That's where you're wrong." She breathed deeply, drawing on the strength and memories of everyone standing before her. "We are not defined by our fears but by our love." She could feel every heartbeat aligning with hers, a powerful cadence of defiance. One by one, the crowd began to join in. Love. Family. Hope. The words cascaded like a waterfall, washing away the shadow's fierce grip. The cyclone began to shudder, unable to withstand the surge of unified determination. "Feel the joy," Maya shouted. "Remember the smiles. Share them." The references to family, friends, laughter they longed for surged through their minds as they linked emotional fragments into the ever-growing tapestry of courage. Suddenly, an even more brilliant light pierced through the cyclone's heart, illuminating the tempest in dazzling colors. The shadows writhed and twisted, a shriek of anguish and fury escaping their depths as they began to recoil from the light. Maya pushed forward, leading the charge. "Now! Push against it! Fight!" With her heart pounding, Maya rallied everyone. Their resolve grew so strong, she could barely contain it. She could feel the tides turning. The shadows lashed out, but they thinned, losing their strength against the combined emotions of hope, laughter, and tears from a lifetime. Each kernel of popcorn erupted with brilliance, spilling a spectrum of color as the cyclone sucked in their collective fight, but was met with overwhelming love from the crowd, a unity that could not be shaken. In that heartbeat, she caught a glimpse of Marjorie, fighting her way through the chaos, her features a mix of horror and determination as she joined the chorus. "Keep going, Maya," she shouted, and it felt as if the war between darkness and light shifted in their favor. As the cyclone swirled, Maya focused on saving everyone, on reclaiming every piece of themselves that the storm had threatened to take. "This is our moment. Let us shine," she cried, spurring everyone on. Surges of energy cascaded from the crowd, a vibration of love weaving a tapestry against despair. With one final push, the cyclone exploded outward, shards of darkness collapsing inward, the angry banshee of despair silenced forever. Just as quickly as it had surged, the energy fractured, and a radiant calm enveloped them. The room glowed with warmth as a soft light filtered through, illuminating their faces, now filled with relief and awe. Maya stood in the aftermath of the cyclone, panting but filled with a profound sense of triumph. The shadows that once clawed at their hearts lay scattered and harmless around them. "I knew you could do it." Sarah collapsed into Maya's arms, tears brimming with both joy and fear slipping down her cheeks. The crowd erupted in cheers, people hugging one another, laughter spilling into the air. Marjorie couldn't help but smile, a flicker of camaraderie breaking the walls she had built. "Guess we did need each other after all," she remarked sheepishly. Maya felt the warmth of belonging urging through her. It wasn't just about popcorn or competition, it was about weaving connections out of their deepest struggles and emotions. In the closure of that stormy night, she felt like a new person, one who had faced down the dark and emerged victorious. Maya had a mission now, a goal to elevate not only flavors but emotions. She would create experiences that transcended taste and drew from the human spirit, taking the lessons learned into a world that craved connection and healing. And as the crowd began to disperse under the glow of the neon-lit sky, Maya felt a sense of serenity wash over her. With a heart full of hope and love, she knew this was just the beginning of something extraordinary. That night, she didn't just choose to be a collaborator. She chose to be a healer. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this incredible conclusion. And please, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share.